I want to talk about this just to warn you. When you have these charts, as you see on page 30, in which all the hierarchical order of the bad guys are laid out, the pride, the envious, the wrathful, the slothful, which, by the way, is where this conversation with Virgil in the middle of the book is taking place. That's going to turn out to be important. The avaricious, the gluttonous, the lustful. Something is wrong there. We are not presented with the lovers at the top of the earthly paradise as lustful. We're presented with, I think, with them as passionately in love with each other. I mean, it's more like romantic love that is the top level. That it's called the lustful is Ciardi. He names these cantos, not Dante. So I would call them the passionate. And more important now, on the left in the diagram, Ciardi's got immoderate love. That's loving too much. Now, it's true that there are lots of people who have been loving too much. The gluttons, the avaricious, the Paolo and Francesca, whom I want to say are the passionate lovers. They're swept around in these storms of passion and so forth. But and their love is certainly immoderate. But that's Ciardi's name for it. Dante's name for it is misdirected. Now, why is that important? Because the idea that the question is, can there be too much love so that you have to rein it in and control it because there's nothing in the universe that can satisfy absolute devotion? Or is there something in the universe that can satisfy absolute devotion? If there were, then what would the right thing to say about the immoderate love, for instance? Is it wrong because it's immoderate? No. If you have it toward God, the less moderate, the better. You should be a kind of fanatic of God worship, a total devotee, the model of a knight and his lady, and so forth. Does the knight have immoderate love for his lady? No, I think not. I mean, there's the lady, and we'll see when Beatrice finally shows up. She is so gorgeous and so in charge of things and on top of it and so forth. Dante's absolutely swept off his feet over her, and nobody says that's the wrong way to relate to her. However, there's complications. We'll get to them. But for the time being. So you don't want to call all forms of love that needs to be fixed basically immoderate love, because there's the possibility of loving something totally devotedly. Well, then what can you call them? What should Ciardi have written at that top level? Well, I think it should be misdirected love. I mean, you've got a huge amount of love. Good. Now, don't try to make it moderate. That's a Stoic Roman attitude. But that's the appropriate attitude in a universe and not created by God to give people total satisfaction, but in a much more random universe, sort of produced by forces which are, I don't know how to describe them, but whatever it is, in Aristotle, in the world of the Stoics, there's nothing that you should have absolute devotion for. So, then you should not, that would be immoderate love, and Ciardi would be right about that world, the Stoic world, the Roman world, the Virgil world, but he's trying to draw a picture of the Dante world, of God's world, of the creation. And in the creation, the worst kind of love that you could have would be misdirected love. Because you take this ability to have this total love and total devotion, but you go after things that aren't satisfying like that. And again, we're back to that. Well, what is satisfying like that? wow, the creator God. It's all very much tied up with this understanding that this is the creation. Okay, I saw what looked like a hand up. I mean, it isn't a hand, but it might be a potential hand. Anybody want to say anything about this? Um, okay, well, okay, we'll just go on. See, the thing you want to avoid is misdirected love, loving something more than it can satisfy you. And now, so I'm just reading my notes. We shouldn't believe the diagram on 30, mainly because he's got this wrong view of, that is, that's supposed to be not Virgil's view, but the truth about the creation. But Ciardi has taken over the Virgil view. The Virgil view is that most love is immoderate because you're always trying to get more satisfaction out of things than they can give you. That's fine. And a good Stoic, a good Roman, a good Virgil, and I'm afraid a good Ciardi, who thinks he's a good Christian but who isn't, thinks that the main thing is to get your love in sync with how much satisfaction it can give you. Now let's see if I catch up with that. So to be good, you don't obey, I wrote here, arbitrary laws. You learn, I think, by trying out things, which ones satisfy you and which don't, and you adjust your amount of desire to what the world can give you. You've got to keep back in your mind this Stoic picture. The world is not capable of satisfying you. You've got to get used to that. I'm saying this is the Dante, this is the Virgil view. This is the Stoic view. This is the Roman view. It's not the creator view. But in the Stoic view, nothing is capable of total satisfying you. So what you have to do, and now comes the crucial thing, you have to use your free will to cut down your desire, to bring them into relation, to proportion to what things are capable of satisfying you. Now let's see where I am with that. Well, I say look on 182 for us. That's Canto 17, line 209. I don't see it on. What did I say? I said 182. I said Canto 17. It is Canto 17. But what? Oh, it's page 182, but that's not helping much. Lines 209, but that's not lines 209. Okay, let's see what happens on lines 209. So what do I want it to be? Oh, okay, yes, it's, I don't know, it's 190 what I want, which is what I've been leading up to. Yeah, I don't know why I got me, but anyway, here's what we want. At the bottom of 188 and the top of 189, those two pages are the crucial pages. On my reading, what I've just been trying to prepare you for, this is the place where Virgil goes all wrong. So now we need to look at that. What's that? Oh yeah, okay, it's Canto 18, line 20, at line, let's say 33. The soul at the very bottom there can never rest short of the thing that fills it with devotion. That's the Augustine again thing. But I see I've written a question mark and right. And and I say the translation says, until the thing loved is enjoyed. That's okay. Filling it with devotion, it sounds too much like finding your lady, finding God, and so forth. But what the Stoics think is, well, you should go ahead and pursue something and enjoy the loved thing. That's not bliss, but that's what you can have in the world. Okay, now let's see. And he's trying to tell Dante that Beatrice had some other view, but he doesn't know what it is. This is lines 45. I'm still in Canto 18. As far as reason sees, I can reply. The rest is up to asking Beatrice. It's part, and what is it that reason sees? Now, so you start out loving things, children loving things, and so forth, springing up in you as instincts, like with bees, is his example. And also, we're on page 189. We're in line 60, still in Canto 18. That's the still important middle. Now that all the later wills and this first bent may thrive, the innate counsel of your reason must surely guard the threshold of consent. That's the crucial line. Because that's the line that says your free will and your job is not to give in to things that look more attractive than they can actually satisfy you. So you're constantly, this is the Stoic thing again, you're constantly not letting yourself be taken in and give in to the attractiveness of things any more than they deserve. And this, and a little further, this is the principle. Guard the threshold of consent. This is the principle from which accrue your just deserts according as it reaps and winnows good or evil love in you. That is, good love is appropriate, fitting love. Evil love isn't rebellion, of course, not in this view. It's misguided love. I wonder about evil there. Evil is not a very sensible thing to talk about. Evil love. I bet that's to do. Will you note it? Because I am balancing this in a pen is too much. So I want to know what this evil love is at the bottom of 66 in the Italian. I'll bring you a report. In fact, let me give you my other translation. Somebody look. Can you come and get it? Let's see if it goes along with evil love there. I'd be very surprised, but then sometimes I do get surprised. Okay, now, so where are we? Okay, so now he said the wrong thing, and I'm just trying to see still why I've got these funny references, but it doesn't bother me. I'll go back and look at them later. So in Virgil's world, nothing's totally fulfilling. Therefore, you have to guard the threshold of consent. Your free will consists in resisting your tendency to go out and love everything like a baby does. You have to outgrow that. Moderation is the highest virtue. You have to restrain and limit your love. What does it say? Bad. Great. Bad is just what you want. Okay. Yeah, it winnows out the good love from the bad. See, that makes perfect sense. And it's talking about sin. There's no place for Virgil to talk about sin. I mean, he doesn't know what sin is. I mean, that's what happened at the wall. He didn't know what sin was. It's rebellion. It's an attempt to be autonomous and set up your own hierarchy of satisfaction. So, but bad love is just letting things draw you in that can't satisfy you. And that's what Virgil understands. So here's another one at the top of 190. We're now at 70. The same point gets made. Here we go. Or to put it this way, all love, let us say, that burns in you springs from necessity. You're just a loving organism, in effect. But you still have the power to check its sway. That's just the same thing as curb the threshold of content. That's the Stoic thing again. You've got to have enough reason and willpower not to just go running after things that can't satisfy. And then he says, and this is just wrong, these noble powers, that is the Stoic power of being able to resist temptation and false attraction, these noble powers Beatrice will comprehend as free will. Well, we're going to get to free will, maybe not today. And it turns out Beatrice, of course, doesn't have this view about free will at all. how could Beatrice want to say that free will consists in holding in your tendency to be loving and devoted, joyfully going after, it's happy making things and people. So Beatrice must mean something else by free will. And if you've been following me, which I admit would be difficult and murky in the dark here, what can you guess now? What does Beatrice mean by free will? If she doesn't mean curbing your desires, curbing your going after things, and what does it say here? Checking the power of them. What could you do with your free will? How about direct your love, keeping it as strong as possible and finding a strong enough object for it? Or, here's an even more far out one. Keep your eyes open. Suppose the highest thing you can do with your free will is get rid of it. Get rid of your will altogether. What would that be like? Well, you don't really know yet, but I'm trying to keep you sort of in the, you'll get there. But if everything were attractive, according to how much satisfaction it could give you and how much devotion it was worth, if everything were as attractive as it really, and not sort of delusory, if you could just stop willing altogether, you would just be drawn to go after and adore what is going afterable and adorable. And when it all gets set up, that's the way Beatrice is going to see it. Free will is getting rid of your will, I think. And that's the absolute radical opposite of autonomy. The willful people in the city of Dis, the blissful people have given themselves completely over to the attractiveness of whatever is in proportion to its attractiveness. Yeah. Can you hear him? No, but I see. Well, that's a good point. Yes, if Virgil were saying that, and I think that's very interesting. Virgil is saying you should control your will to go after these things and never go after anything more than the minimal kind of satisfaction that it can give you. Whereas Beatrice is saying this radical thing, which I'll try to explain when we get there, really, but it amounts to not controlling your will. Now, what are those important passages? You have to check the sway, that you have to curb the threshold, guard the threshold of contempt. Okay, consent. Don't go after things. But that's the opposite. See, I want to say that's a way of controlling and organizing your life by your willpower. Whereas what Beatrice is saying is, you don't need to do that. God's got the universe already completely organized in terms of the attractiveness of each thing, proportional to how it can satisfy you. If you would just get your will out of this and just open yourself to the attractiveness of things, you'd be like a homing missile on the way to God. That's, in fact, to keep your eyes open as you read it. If you haven't got that far, that's just what happens to Dante when Beatrice says, stop willing, and he manages to just be open. He then is zapped up to the vicinity of God. Now, you want to say something about that?
Virgil's saying that you should love everything in proportion to the satisfaction it can give you. Isn't that still saying that you should love God absolutely because He can give you absolutely?
Well, that's a perfectly sensible thing to say, except the point is that Virgil doesn't know that there's a creator God capable of giving you satisfaction. This is what we have to keep going over. Speaking from within the Roman Stoic world, he doesn't know about this creator God, and therefore he only knows that there are these relative goods, more hierarchically organized, but there's no good that would satisfy you going after it completely in the Virgil world. And that's the important difference. Okay, yeah, but that's the right question. Okay, yeah.
No, that's not God. He just like couldn't attain, like he couldn't go to heaven or earth because of the fact that he was around before Christ.
You're right. That's good. He knows it, but he doesn't. He can't experience it. That's right. And the only way he knows it, I guess, and this is something I don't think it's said anywhere, but you could figure it out. Here are all these classic people from Greek classical times in limbo, and oh well, no, he doesn't know. No, none of them know. Wait, this is funny. You have to think about this. Remember, they're in limbo. They have lived at a time in which there were only what Virgil calls at one point lying gods. He knows that they weren't the full fulfilling thing. He knows that he doesn't really understand what this fulfilling thing is. Because remember that funny part I talked about last time when Jesus comes down wearing a crown of victory and grabs out all these people. They don't understand. Who could? I mean, that Jesus is a man, but he's also God, and he's the proper object of total devotion. They could say that to each other. No, they can't even say it to each other because none of them know it. No, I'm getting it clearer. In limbo, they don't know about the Creator God who is totally satisfying and the proper object of total devotion. They just don't know about it. And when they see Jesus, they don't know what that is, except that that's some kind of warrior who's won the crown and who for some reason or other came and grabbed out all those people. But okay, so let me go back to your question because I think I answered it, but I'm not sure. What did you say?
Like the whole point of limbo is that they were sad.
That's right. Ah, good. Now I remember your question. No, they don't know. They're sad and they got a kind of longing, but a kind of longing, I use that word because when you've got a kind of longing, you don't know for what. They just sense that somehow things are not as happy as they wish they were or something like that. But they don't have any clear sense of a completely fulfilling God who wants you to become totally devoted to him like a knight to his lady. Then they don't know that. This kind of sadness that they've got is well, just the feeling that somehow it could be better, but they don't have any concrete sense of what it would be like to be better. They don't understand agape love. They don't understand a supreme being that gives you total fulfillment. They just know there's something better. There ought to be something better. So they're sighing and wishing that it would come along, but they don't know what it would be. They don't desire it. That would mean that they would understand what it was and say, "Oh boy, if we only had a God like that." Okay. Anything more? Those are all good questions. Sure? Okay, I will go back into the dark here and see what I can find out. So we should, now we're going to we're talking about Virgil on 189, curbing the threshold of consent. And your question is right, and maybe I said it, I don't know. My next line is, that's this Virgilian sadness that you can't get what you desire. I mean, we still have it in the notion of Stoic. I hope the notion of Stoic, which I keep using when I talk about Virgil, means something to you. A Stoic person is a person who's strong enough and resigned enough to face up to the fact that people just don't live these totally wonderful, overflowing with love and complete fulfilled bliss, to use the word that Virgil is using. Stoics don't go around feeling bliss. They've just got enough strength of will not to do stupid things and hurt themselves and other people and make life worse than it is. I knew somebody who was a natural Stoic who didn't really know about Stoics. I mean, a real person living now, who said after when he was old and dying that he had learned that life is learning what you can do without. I thought that was really touching, and that's a kind of Stoic understanding of what you get out of life. And that's what the sighing goes with. Okay, now let's see where we are. Okay, now comes the fun. I hope we still have time. Yes. What I want to say, and I've been saying, is this is clearly all wrong. This Stoic Roman Virgil, Ciardi too, story. But now the question is, how are we going to know that it's wrong? Dante's reaction to Virgil ought to be something like, knights shouldn't curb their devotion to their ladies. No lady wants a knight who's going around is holding the threshold of his adoration and not, and what was this other phrase here? Lost it. Anyway, we're going to be in the neighborhood of it. So how would we know? How would Dante, who was writing the story, this is where it gets to be fun, know the right answer to being a Christian, which he's trying to learn, so to speak, as a pilgrim, seeing the creative universe on this trip, if Virgil doesn't know and is no help, and Dante is a pilgrim, Dante, after the book is over and he's been to paradise and he's seen it all, he knows. But Dante's describing the pilgrim, the guy who doesn't know, who's supposed to learn. But he can't learn from Virgil because Virgil's got it all wrong. What's he going to learn from? Well, you've seen it happen at the wall. What happens? What does he learn from? Not from Virgil, for sure. Virgil doesn't ever gets it. Nobody comes out from behind the wall and announces that this is a fortress and not a prison. But it's clear by the way they defend it that it's a fortress and not a prison. Dante learns by watching the events in the book and watching where the big distinctions are and trying to figure out on the basis of that what the big distinctions are telling him. And that's the only way he can learn. So then the interesting question becomes, well, how is he going to learn that this story, if this story is all wrong, this story meaning the Stoic view, if that's the wrong view of what the Christian should learn and the Christian God can give you, how will Virgil know that, learn that? And the answer's got to be from the events and the landscape. He's going to tell you and show you things which, if you can read them right, will cast doubt on Virgil, even though and it'll be sort of messages from the creation itself, how it works. Okay, now comes the fun, what I call the fun part, is this happening? I mean, is Dante just foolish and confused like Ciardi? Reading this Greek and Roman Stoic stuff into what's going on in this Christian creation. Is he just as confused as everybody else, so to speak, who mixes up these two totally different views of what human being is like in the creator world and in a world that isn't? Or, if he is, then he's dumb and I don't see why anybody should read him. But if he's smart, and I think he must be very smart, he's going to give you all sorts of signs that Virgil's all wrong, without being able to get that explained to him. Later, he'll get it explained to him by Beatrice, because even Virgil knows that Beatrice knows something that Virgil doesn't know. But what can he know about the current story that he's just been told? Curb your will, adjust your desires. Don't ask for too much from the universe. What can you expect from a universe that's just been bumping around forever, and so forth? Okay, here we go. And now the question for you all is, am I just hallucinating and making up all this interpretation that I'm about to give you that's telling you Virgil is all wrong? Or is this Dante being very clever and giving out signals that I'm the only one clever enough to receive? That's pretty suspicious. So now you better look and see. Okay, so here we go. Dante's got an intuition, all right, that it doesn't seem right to say that knights should curb the devotion to their ladies. But the question is, does anything in the landscape support that intuition? Okay, now comes what happens. What happens when Virgil gives this story in the middle of the book about what is really going on in the universe? Well, lots of things happen. The first thing that happens is the moon comes out. That's that's your page 190. And in the book, it's Canto 18, lines 70 to 78. You're going to need a little background for this, but first let's just read it. We just stopped at the point where Virgil says that Beatrice says that this power to check your will is free will, and that Beatrice is going to tell us. Dante just drops that at that very point. It goes on the following. It was near midnight. The late risen moon, like a brass bucket polished bright as fire, thinned out the lesser stars which seemed to drown. Why is that a clue? Well, we've never discussed the stars, have we? The 3 and the 4? Well, it's time to discuss the 3 and the 4 stars. So I have a page on it here somewhere. Here they are. Okay. So every once in a while, you hear about the 3 and the 4 stars. So I did mention them. I remember now mentioning them. I mentioned that the 4 stars stand for the Greek and Roman, that is pagan, ancient, classical, something, virtues. And the 4 stars, I remember saying, were temperance, wisdom, courage, and justice. And that list is just accepted in Plato, for instance. I don't know where it goes, where it starts. And the 3 stars, that's your turn. I think I must have said it. Did I say it? Well, do you remember? If not, if you can't figure it out, you better worry. What are the 3 stars? See, the stars are the symbols of sort of what is good, really, really good. And there are 4 things that are really, really good, according to Virgil. Being a temperate person, that's the moderation. Being just, being courageous, being what? I keep forgetting them. Or another. Temperate. No, that's the same. What is it? Wisdom. Did I forget wisdom this time? Okay. Anyway, so what are the 3 if the other 3 stars are also 3 virtues that guide the life of a virtuous person, what would they be? Hooray! Hey, faith, hope, and what? Charity, right. I thought you said chastity, and I thought, gee, that sounds, I don't remember that being in there. Okay, yes, faith, hope, and love. So that's the other 3 stars. And at night, or at various points, one sees these stars, and they're always sort of relevant to what's going on. They're a kind of commentary on whether we're in a Christian sort of discussion or domain, or in a pagan one. Well, what happens? Well, if Virgil, which is now already getting to be far-fetched, I think, but I still believe it, is the moon, which is a kind of pale reflection of the sun, and that's about how Virgil's understanding is related to the high understanding of the people in paradise. Anyway, the moon dims the 3 stars. Why would Dante bother to tell you that? If it weren't that he's telling you this important bit of news, that when Virgil's talking, it's like a moon, and on line 78, and we're still in Canto 18, thinned out the lesser stars. The lesser stars are the 3, as opposed to the 4. Thinned out the lesser stars which seem to drown, and so forth and so forth. And now the next question is, how does Dante react to the story just told him by Virgil about what the sort of life is all about, what babies desire, how you get your desires improved? There are lots more about that, but not right in this part. So anyway, he's heard enough about that. When I'm talking sense, and you're sitting there looking at me with sort of bright, beady eyes, which I think you are, that means that what I'm saying is interesting. And sometimes I look out, and everybody's falling asleep. They're sort of yawning and collapsing and so forth and so forth. That usually means I'm not making sense. I'm being boring and unexciting because I'm not saying anything interesting. Well, the reaction to Virgil, having just heard this important thing, which he announces everything that he knows and then says it's from Beatrice, yeah, I pass to Beatrice from here on, and the lesser stars, the 3 stars, go out. And what's his reaction? Well, in line 87, he says in this mysterious little stanza, because of which, well, let's go back a little. Virgil had discharged fully the burden I had laid on him for love. That is, he, out of goodness of his heart, told Dante the answer to the deep questions about being a human being in this world. Because of which, that he has discharged this burden, I, being pleased to find such clear and open answers to my questions, was rambling drowsily within my mind. Well, is that a clue? Is that the right answer? Is that the way one would react if Virgil had just cleared up the structure of the universe? That you would be woozy, rambling in your mind? So this funny mixture of politeness, thinking, well, Virgil really said something, it must have been important. As he's trying to grasp it, he's falling asleep because he can't make any sense out of it. That's what I think is going on. But I don't know. Now, that's another clue, I think, that Virgil's wrong. But we need another clue, which is something really clear about what's wrong with Virgil, and something clear about what Virgil should be saying. And guess where that is, if my story is right? You have to ask, what ledge are they on? What punishment are they resting? Do you remember? It isn't something normally you would remember, but it's important here to know it. You look like you know it. You're looking pleased. You know? Well, it's easy enough to find out. You've got the book. Anyway, you're in the circle of sloth. And what is sloth? Sloth is not loving enough. Sloth is not being excitedly committed to your a life, and sloth is being a couch potato, and the Virgil comes under sloth in the sense that he's saying, don't get excited, don't sacrifice your life, for instance, for your friend, like Jesus wants you to do. Don't sacrifice everything in your life to the lady, as chivalric, which is a kind of romantic love, wants you to do. And when he hears all that, he gets sleepy. And the comment of the ledge that they're at, the place where they're talking, is a comment on the way what Virgil is recommending. Virgil's recommending, don't get excited, don't get completely devoted, don't be like a knight with his lady, be moderate, reasonable, temperate, and so forth. And then, so what's the punishment for sloth? What does Virgil definitely not have? Well, being excited, enthusiasm, joy, commitment, passion, all of that Virgil doesn't have. And what's the punishment now for sloth? Well, remember that a punishment now meaning in the purgatory, is rehab. It's doing something which will sort of change your way of responding to things, get rid of the bad. Let's say like the proud are all stooped over under stones, or so forth. You over and remember the gluttons are dieting by doing the Tantalus cure, where they can't eat or drink, and it's all right where they can reach it, and you never get it. So what would be the kind of cure for Virgilian boringness? Well, you see it in line 104. Here's what they're running around. Well, let's go back to 84 because it's sort of fun. There is Dante rambling drowsily within his mind, and then bang, next sentence, I was awakened in an instant to a pack of people running toward us, a great mob that broke around the mountain at my back. Old wild hordes ran through the night and so, like that. And Bacchus like that. They were in such a frenzy, frenzy is certainly what Virgil hasn't got. They were in such a frenzy as I could see. Those who were spurred by goodwill and high love ran bent like scythes along the chorus toward me. They were upon us soon, for all that and so, and they were calling out, Mary ran to the hills, so one refrain, and the other, Caesar to, I don't know what that is, you'd have to read the footnote to find out. But one thing is clear that they're doing, they're saying faster, you see where I am now, 103 on 191. Faster, faster, to be slow in love is to lose time, cried those who came behind, and so forth and so forth. In other words, soup up your passion. That's what they're yelling. Because this is the circle of the punishment of the people who are not frenzied, who are not passionate, who are not going into rejoicing. Or in Dante, there isn't so much rejoicing, but there's bliss. There's no bliss here in the sloth department. Well, that's enough, I think, to make a case against Virgil that Dante can't find out by asking Virgil, because Virgil doesn't know. He has to read it off the situation. I claim he's read it off the situation. He's put them in the circle of sloth. He said that Virgil is like a moon in that he's dimming the 3 stars. He said that, what else is there in my story? One other argument. What? Yes, that's right. His thoughts ramble and he falls asleep. That, I think that's enough. If you think about it, that Dante is trying to get you to, approve of this and learn from it. That is, when I say that, I mean, Dante has to write about the pilgrim who might well fall for this. He's got to explain how the pilgrim is going to be sort of informed that he shouldn't fall for this. And that's what's happening. I don't know how many people are convinced. Let's take a vote. Do you believe me? I mean, what's the question? Is Dante showing in this roundabout way that Virgil's stoicism is that we should curb our desires to mesh with the minimal kind of satisfactions we can get, and even the maximum ones, which aren't very maximal. Anyway, so is Dante showing, by way of the context, that Virgil's view is all wrong? How many think have I convinced you? Not an overwhelming vote. I don't know, because it could sound too clever by half. I am afraid. I don't really know, but I think. Try to think it the other way. I think that if Dante really believed the Virgil story, then he wouldn't be falling asleep, and he wouldn't do it on the circle, get the explanation on the circle of sloth, and it wouldn't have people running through and waking him up and saying faster and faster and so forth. Why would he have all that if he were in agreement with Virgil? All that seems to be sort of undermining the very point that Virgil's making. And now I just want to say that's what I mean by Dante being brilliant. He can't say it, but he can show it. Except that it seems so subtle, and I sometimes wonder whether I just hallucinated. Yeah.
All wrong, but couldn't it just be that Dante provides insights that Virgil, in his pagan background, cannot fulfill? Because I just don't understand why Dante would call him master throughout the entire thing, throughout the entire poem, without some sort of
That's
from his.
okay. Well, I think that's exactly the right thing to say. And the burden of proof is certainly on me to convince you that Dante respects Virgil, thinks that being a Stoic and a Roman is a pretty high-level, sensitive, intelligent way to be, but that Dante thinks that Virgil missed it all because he couldn't understand the passion story. Let me bring in, I'll wheel in one more thing in my defense. That what we want now is an example where Dante actually sort of criticizes Virgil. I mean, up to now, he's just let the landscape do it. Okay, I'm going to jump ahead to something I was going to talk about sooner or later, and now I'm going to talk about it sooner, if I can keep track of this. So if I lose track of your comment, remind me. I have to work to get there. So they're in sloth, and it's too early, unfortunately, to make this point I want to make. The most important thing for Dante is that Beatrice is his lady, and he's writing this poem about his lady that he says nobody's ever written such a poem before, and his relation to his lady is romantic love, which Stoics couldn't understand. And now comes a funny thing. I'm just going to tell you, it's jumping way ahead and clear to the Paradiso, but we'll go back to it again. But it would fit in here so well that I can't resist telling you about it. And nobody, it's going to look more like Hubert Dreyfus hallucinations, I'm afraid, now that I think of it, but because nobody's ever thought about this before. Now the question is, can I find it? It's got to be at the top of the purgatory. So that's where we're going to find it. Well, for the next 12 minutes, I'm going to jump ahead and give away something which is so much fun and interesting, but it's also so relevant to what we're talking about. That I'm going to just jump to the purgatory ending. In the purgatory ending of where Dante finally gets to the top of purgatory, gets completely purified, gets ready to go to paradise, he has this interesting encounter, and something interesting happens with him and with Beatrice and with Virgil, all of which I want to tell you about, if I can only find it. Too many things I'm trying to hold. Aha, I got it. So, there is a procession. We're now in Canto 30 of the Purgatory still. So you should have read this, and so I won't be spoiling the exciting plot. That's because there they are, they see a procession that's going by. And the procession is made up, or at the very beginning, line 6 of Canto 30, the procession stops in front of him. It's got holy prophets in it, people calling out Amen, and it's got representations of all the books of the Bible are dancing by, and Hallelujah is being sung in the sky, and so forth. And flying over this procession, there's a chariot in the procession, and flying over the chariot comes a bunch of angels, and they sing, "Blessed is he who comes." This is 303 of us, line 18. And there are these angels scattering flowers and so forth. And somebody's in this chariot, veiled and covered up. The procession is really the history of the church. It's got every Old Testament prophet in it. It's a long, long procession. And it's got the church in it. It's got the gospel writers in it. And at the very middle of it is this sort of chariot. And in this chariot is this person. And this person is covered up with a kind of veil. And over this and the angels are singing, "Blessed is he who comes." Who do you think is in the chariot? The middle of the history of the church, with angels singing, "Blessed is he who comes," and that stops opposite Dante. Well, you ought to think it must be Jesus. I mean, that's where he should be in this procession, in the middle of it, and with everybody leading up to him, and the Dante and the gospel writers coming after him. And and who is it really? Now you ought to remember that Dante said he was going to write about Beatrice, a poem like nobody ever wrote about his girlfriend before. Beatrice is in the church. Beatrice has taken the place of Jesus. That is, Beatrice is Dante's savior. And this is you see this starting on line 30. "A lady came into view, an olive crown and so forth. My soul, such years had passed since last I saw that lady, and stood trembling in her presence, stupefied by the power of holy awe. This is Dante at 15, looking at Beatrice at 13. Now by some power that shone from her and so forth, he felt the mastery of, it says enduring love in the translation. I said, you've got to change that to ancient love. It's a love that he experienced in the past. Well, enduring is all right. Forget it. It doesn't matter. The instant I was smitten by the force which had transfixed my soul before my boyhood years had run their course. Guess who that? We know that's Beatrice. And then I turned left with the same assured belief that makes a child run to its mother's arms when frightened or has come to grief, to say to Virgil, there is not within me one drop of blood unstirred. I recognize the tokens of the ancient flame. Now, what am I answering again? I got to get it right. Who put me into this? Yeah, go ahead. Ask it again now, because I'm ready to answer.
Dante has like.
Oh yeah, good. Now that's it. I got it. Yes. Additional thing. Okay, I want to show you that though he respects Virgil, he doesn't respect what Virgil says or stands for at all. And this is where it happens. He sees Beatrice. He turns to Virgil. This is page 304, line 46. And he says this quote. Now, one odd thing, and I say this for the podcast audience, does any critic ever notice that, sorry. Yeah, no. And he says, Dante says to Virgil, quote, there is not within me one drop of blood unstirred. I recognize the tokens of the ancient flame, unquote. Yeah. What's that? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I don't want to shine it in your eyes. Thanks. Okay, so that quote is from Virgil. It's from Virgil's Aeneid. I would love to know, I presume it's in Italian, not in Latin, because it gets translated into English, which is fine. And Dante's writing for the ordinary people, so it's not a good idea to go into quoting Virgil in Latin. But what is this quote from Virgil? Well, it's the amazing quote. Dido, who has lost her husband years before and has been totally faithful to him after he died, finally finds a man so attractive that the same devotion she had for her husband is now toward this guy. That is Aeneas. Dido falls totally in love with Aeneas, and that's what she means when she says, I recognize the ancient flame. It means I had a total passion for Sychaeus, is his name, I think, her husband, and then I had a total passion for Aeneas, and now Dante is saying that to Virgil. What a weird thing for Dante to do. Okay, what he's doing is, I leave something out. And Virgil thinks that the kind of passion that Dido has for Aeneas is sick. He thinks that all such strong passions are sick. I mean, she's trying to get total bliss out of relation to Aeneas. That would either get her into hell at the top level with Paolo and Francesco, or in the flames and purgatory. It's a good thing. But for Virgil, I guess not. Have any of you read the Aeneid? I don't particularly recommend it. That's why we didn't put it in the course. But in any case, in the Aeneid, Dido ends badly. Her love is like a disease. It's like a fire. It's like an arrow that's been shot into her side by Cupid. She goes crazy, running around. She finally commits suicide, all because of this passion for Aeneas. So now, what's Dante doing here? Well, he's taking over Dido's statement that her passion is, that she has total passion, which Virgil then shows is fatal. And he's telling Virgil, as if it was a good thing, that he's feeling the power of the ancient flames, that he's got this passion. He is so passionate for Beatrice that he's completely overwhelmed. So what's Virgil going to do? I mean, it's Dante, that's why I'm talking, to you. It's Dante turning against Virgil, turning Virgil against Virgil, using Virgil's criticism of Dido as a positive thing. When for Virgil, it's too extreme. It's a case of women who love too much. What happened to Dido? But you can't love too much, according to Dante. So, and now am I making this up? Well, what would be evidence that Dante has zapped Virgil? Well, when Dante says this, Virgil vanishes like in a puff of smoke. He just annihilates Virgil on the crucial issue of whether you should have total passion for another being, particularly one that turns out to be your Jesus figure or not. Virgil can't get it. So what happens? He turns to Virgil to say, at the top of 304, there is not within me one drop of blood unstirred. I recognize the tokens of the ancient flame. But he had taken his life from us. He had gone. Virgil had gone. The gentle father to whom I so and so and so and so and so. That is, Virgil literally vanishes on the crucial issue. Should you love a lady like a knight loves a lady? Or should you control your passion, or else you're going to go crazy like Dido? And so that's my attempt to say that though he admires him, those Stoic virtues are impressive, and though he's the poet that Dante says he learned poetry from, and he really likes him, when the chips are down in this issue about life and how to live it, and God and the universe, he just can't go along with Virgil. So that's my attempt. That's why I jumped ahead to say all my criticisms of Virgil finally culminate in the criticism of Virgil that it's the absolutely opposite way of life from Dante. Okay, that's it.